If you say, no, I don't drink cider, so you are exactly what we are looking for.
Yeah, spoken like a smart businessman. Hello, my name is Rio Windcaller, and I am the producer and cider MC of this weekly podcast, where we speak with makers, cider enthusiasts, and folks within the cider trade from around the world.
Hip, hip, hooray!
Bringing us into episode 458 of Cider Chat was Donatas Genys. He is a maker and founder of a new cidery in Lithuania, which is a Baltic country. It is on the Baltic Sea. To the north is Latvia. To the south is Poland. And Donatas is our featured guest this week. I'm really, really excited about this conversation because I am Lithuanian. I've been to the country. Out of the blue, had relatives contact me. That's kind of a fun little story because it happened when emails were just starting up. And out of the blue, this travel agent in the town where my grandparents and uncle and cousins lived got an email from Lithuania. And it said, "Do you know Joseph?" And the travel agent kind of knew my grandfather, but he wasn't around then. So he tracked down my uncle. My uncle didn't know what to do with this email. And so my uncle gave it to my father. My father didn't know what to do with it. And mind you, I am the only female in my entire family. So guess who got the email? Me. I don't know what that says, guys, but it kind of befell upon me. And then what took place was this really interesting correspondence with this cousin that I never had heard of before in Lithuania. And then what transpired was a trip over to Lithuania with my two parents and one of my brothers for this 14-day adventure. We met at the airport. And kind of classic it should have been a movie, to tell you the truth. We arrived at the airport, and there was about 13 relatives waiting for us. I mean, this was right after 9/11. And so, the tensions were up and stuff, and we weren't used to that at airports. And they meet us, and I was just kind of jet-lagged and taking care of my folks and stuff. And I didn't notice at the time that one of my cousins was wearing a shirt that was from an Aikido club in Vilnius, which is the capital of Lithuania. And that's just kind of crazy because I am an Aikido sensei. He is an Aikido sensei. And that was a time in the country who had only just, let's say that was 2001 or so. They had just gained independence in 1990. And so at the time that we were there, the country was still in this slow motion healing of 45 years of occupation from the Soviet Union. And they were gaining independence at a time where Perestroika was enacted. It was a reform project by Gorbachev, who was, I guess you would say, the prime minister, the president of the Soviet Union. And that really opened the door. And they pushed, and they were the first of that kind of Soviet bloc to get out and gain independence. It was amazing. So being there in that culture that was still healing from occupation, 45 years, it was only recent that people could even study martial arts. In fact, I learned that you didn't wear sunglasses ever because it was kind of a sign that you were hiding something. You wouldn't smile to other people in public because what are you smiling about? To have that kind of sense of, I basically call it terror, just embedded into the culture was so deep. It was a really troubling time. And to see that experience, it was still, those elements were still left over in so many ways, even when we were there. Nearly 10 years later after independence. Folks didn't really get to drive cars. So many things that one might take for granted were really under the thumb of the Soviet Union. So it was quite eye-opening for a young American to see another part of the world and what occupation actually looks like and how it can impact both the individual and the society and culture there. It was very eye-opening, and I felt quite privileged. I still correspond with my cousins over there and just hosted some of them here in New York City last year. And then having the opportunity to sit down with Donatis and catch up on the scene now for cider was outstanding. The two worlds collided. Here's my cousin practicing not only martial art, but the same martial art that I practice, also a black belt, and my other cousin singing Bob Marley songs in Lithuanian, and me and my brother singing the same songs in English. It was just so trippy. And the other cool part is, a big part of my family growing up was the celebration, and always around raising a glass, having a toast, that communion, if you will. And that definitely is a big part of the culture now in Lithuania. The beer at that time when I was there is just outstanding. Baltic porters are really, really well known. You also, of course, have vodka. And everywhere you would see fruit trees, farming, a real connection with the land, folks selling mushrooms that they're picking alongside of the road. I mean, I'm not sure if that still all takes place, but what we are going to be learning from Donatis is definitely apple trees are abundant. But, of course, there's a difference between an eating apple that gets fermented versus a very specific apple for cider. So we will be dipping into that, no doubt. And I was definitely, so thrilled for this opportunity to have a sit down with in many ways, someone who kind of feels like a relative in that short amount of time. So there you have it. We're going to be going to that featured conversation shortly with Donatis, talking about his cidery, where it's at, what he's specializing in, because one of the things that you will know is that he makes kieved ciders. That's where the juice, the fresh pressed apple juice, is allowed to create a brown cap. And that's where the nutrients kind of rise up out of the surface and create this brown cap, and the maker siphons that juice below the brown cap and allows it to ferment. And because there's so little nutrients in it, the yeast kind of stop acting, and so you have a residual sweetness that then takes place, and it's just a delightful style of cider making, and he does it naturally. So we'll be going to that piece, talking about that. He really impressed everybody that had the opportunity to taste his kieved cider and also his ice cider at CiderCon 2025 just a couple months ago. So that's where this recording took place. We'll be going to that feature presentation with Donatis coming up. But first, as always, we have a wee bit of news from out and about in Ciderville. Cider Chat is listener supported, so you could hit the donate button at ciderchat.com to help keep this podcast on the air. And you could also become a patron at the Cider Chat Patreon page. There's different levels that you could choose to join, one level being called the Cider Going Up campaign, and we have a dedicated page at ciderchat.com called Cider Going Up, where we list all the current brands supporting that campaign. So I always like to feature these brands because they're really kind of doing double duty for all of us, helping to keep Cider Chat on the air. Upcoming at Bent Ladder Cider and Wine, this is based in Doylestown, Ohio, are a whole bunch of events. The cidery itself is spectacular. The tasting room overlooks the orchard. It's a really, really nice setup, a nice family run by two brothers doing it all, including their spouses and family members, no doubt. Off-site right next is called Rittman Orchard, and that's like a grocery store, farm shop, I want to say. But the tasting room itself, Bent Ladder, has music every single Friday night coming up. So if you're looking for a place to go out and see the blooms, go check out Ohio. Maybe you're doing a little cross-country road trip, or you thought, dang, are there apples in Ohio? Well, guess what? Yes, there are. So if you're looking for May events, there's actually both on Friday and Saturday evenings. The music starts around 6 p.m. both nights, and they have pizza on some of these nights. And again, this is bloom season. Check out the apple orchards, and the pear trees probably a little bit past now, but you're in for a treat. Then we're going to come a little bit further east to Milton, New York, which is on the west side of the Hudson River. And there you will find a brewery and cidery. It's called Locust Grove Brewing Company, and they have cider happening there. And coming up this weekend, May 11th, they have a special brunch for Mother's Day. There's going to be live music and a food truck from 11 to 2 p.m. So give Mom a break and take her out to brunch. Just go to that website for Locust Grove Brewing, even if you can't bring Mom there, because right on the cover page, you're going to see this really cool drone view of the Hudson River as it rises up over the apple orchards and then moves west right over the big old building, the barn, if you will, where the tasting room is at Locust Grove. That alone is just worth the view. And again, it's blossom time, so get out there. If you can't go to Ohio, you can't go to New York, let's say you're somewhere else in the world, I don't know, let's say Lithuania. Well, take a drive out and start checking out the apple trees that are in blossom. It's happening now. It's May. I'm a little higher elevation, so we're still waiting, but I know just on the lower elevation, it is starting to pop. I hope you're really enjoying it out there, because I sure am. Up next is our featured presentation with Donatas Genys of Sodo, Sidriné. He is going to be telling us a little bit about the history of the Lithuanian culture around cider. We'll actually start with me learning how to pronounce both Sodo, Sidriné, and his last name, which I think I'm still struggling with. And go figure, you have Lithuanian Americans who think they are speaking it one way, and then how it's actually spoken is totally different. So that's part of the fun. You're going to play with the dialect with me and him coming up. And then we'll be jumping into both his cider making, talking about the apples there, and so much more, making this a very good time to grab a glass and join this chat with Donatas Genys of Sodo, Sidriné, based out of Kaunas in the country of Lithuania. Can you tell me how you pronounce, just say it a little bit slower to me, the name of your cidery?
Sodo.
Just Sodo.
Sodo Sidriné.
Sodo
Sidriné.
Sidriné. Sidriné.
Yeah, Sidriné, it means cidery.
Cidery, okay.
So in English, I easily say Sodo cidery.
Okay.
So it's
Sodo
just...
And Donatas?
Donatas.
Donatas.
Genys.
Genys. Genys.
Genys.
Genys.
So it in Lithuanian it means woodpecker.
Woodpecker, okay.
The bird. We have a lot of family names as a bird.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun. There's also tribes in Lithuania. Zuma.
You mean dialects?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 dialects.
Yeah. What tribe would your family be in there?
The best one.
Which is what?
Žemaitija.
Žemaitija. That was my mother's. That was my mother's tribe. Okay.
Yeah. So.
We
are better people than,
I love
those Lithuanians.
You're so Lithuanian because my father was Zumut.
Žemaitija.
That was my mother, Žemaitija. The other one is
Dzūkija.
Dzūkija.
These are poor people.
Oh, that's funny. God, he always was like, "Oh, we're Dzūkija." No, okay, all right.
They have nice. They have nice songs.
Well, that's true. He was a good singer, so there you go. Maybe I got that from him. All right. Well, it's so wonderful to have you on Cider Chat. I'm very excited to hear about Lithuania, hear about what you're doing with your cider. You brought this beautiful bottle. It's cork and cage. It also says Kieved on it. Quite exciting. Let's bring the listeners of this podcast to get a little sense of where Lithuania is located, because people don't really necessarily know that, even though you and I know Lithuania was kind of like the whole region there, and then everybody else stepped away. It's one of the oldest languages in the world, related to Sanskrit, and talk about cider there. So let's start at that point.
Yeah, so Lithuania is one of the Baltics. So we have Baltic region, which is easier for people to understand. So we are on the eastern shore of Baltic Sea, and we are 3 countries, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. When we had a Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in the beginning of 16th century, so we had a queen from Italy, from Bona Sforza. So she brought the new gastronomic culture, and she also influenced a lot of orchards, different fruit growing, and etc., etc. So apples were quite a big deal. And even in our code of law, or I don't know the English word of the codes in that time, so it was like end of 16th century, it was even written that it's big fine for the destroying grafted apple, grafted fruit tree. So you can understand that that was a big deal, and people were growing apples. And I found on the farmer's calendar, beginning of 19th century, was quite famous. Calendars issued every year with advices for farmers, how to grow this and how to do that. So that was one month when they explaining how to make a good cider. Not just cider, but how to make a good cider. So it means that people were making cider. But in that time we were occupied by Russians, and then these noble people in their mansions were drinking wine, and the poor people in villages were drinking beer, which was much easier to make. I remember my parents, my grandparents were making apple wine, so there's this kind of the same like cider, but with a lot of sugar, so stronger. But in general, it's not popular.
Not too popular. Now, my understanding during the Russian occupation, which lasted for like 45 years or so.
Yeah, the last one. But first one, we lost our country in 1795. Before that, we had Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Then we belonged to Russia, and then it was like this culture of beer and vodka brought to the region and to the country. That's why nowadays we're a beer country.
Right, the Baltic Porter is very well known. I know a lot of the farms are being taken over or destroyed.
Yeah, everybody was left like, 30 yards or 0.3 hectare or
very
small piece of land. If you are in the village, you cannot live from there. You can have some vegetables for you, but you cannot live. So there was no bigger farms. Everything was taken, and it was put into the kolkhoz, which is like collective farm. That was a Soviet thing. Yeah. If you didn't agree to give your land, so you just went to Siberia, very simple. So you didn't have many choices.
Right.
And sometimes you lost your land and you go to Siberia. So every family has someone in Siberia. So that was the period.
Yeah, no doubt. So how many apple trees did your grandparents have?
If you see someone who has a house, you will find apple tree. So it's quite popular, and everyone has orchard with some fruit trees, but apple is mandatory. And some people in the villages had a bigger orchards, 10, 20, 50 trees. Someone had a couple of trees, but it's traditional thing to have an apple tree in your house.
Yeah, it feels that way when I was there. Let's talk about your journey. Why cider?
I can talk for ages about that, but
that's okay.
The story is very simple. We had 3 kids, and sometimes with my wife we had some short trips to the regions in Europe, just long weekends. One weekend was in Normandy for weekend, and we had a lot of nice ciders and calvados. And the first night when we had a flight from Vilnius to Paris, and we stayed in the farm, maybe after 10 years with another or third trip to Normandy, I realized that we were sleeping just next door to the Christian Drouin farm, which is famous Calvados producer.
Yes.
So, then it was a really good trip, just 2 of us and a lot of cider. And when I came back, I was thinking, there's a lot of apples around. Let's make cider. That was like 20 years ago. And then we made cider. Of course, and we ended up with some nice aroma, but very acidic thing. And then we said, okay, let's do something else. And with a friend, colleagues from the office, I think for something like 5 years, we were trying different apple varieties, different yeasts, and then we went for crab apples, for wild apples. We were trying different mixes, but we had some really good ciders, but they were acid-forward ciders. And then I realized I am getting too old for these experiments. And I thought, okay, we need to have real cider apple trees. I was doing a lot of research because, Lithuania, nobody was growing apples. Institute of Agriculture, they said, okay, we just know that there is existing such varieties, but we cannot help you. They said, okay. So, so I studied myself about more or less which varieties could fit into our climate, because I needed some varieties which have a blossom late and the harvest is earlier. Just some varieties which are ripening in December is not an option in Lithuania climate. So then I sent a few emails and I bought apple trees from Welsh Mountain Cider.
Oh, okay, yeah.
From Bill and
people out there. Yeah.
And they sent it. Yeah, but that was when UK was still EU, and that was no problem with the sending the trees. And we planted trees was 2013 or something like that. So after many experiments, we planted 10 experience in orcharding, and and some varieties were not doing well, and some were doing well, and some of them are doing really well. But this I had to do myself. No one to ask.
That's incredible. You really wanted to go for the bitter, sharp, bittersweet.
Yeah, because I think that, I am fan of body ciders. I'm fan of tannins in cider. So I just wanted to make cider which I like most. And that was only one way.
Can I ask you, what is a popular apple in Lithuania? Like, just what do most people have growing in their backyard?
I think there are some local varieties. One of them is Auksis. Auksis is a variety which is quite famous in Lithuania, Latvia, and even Estonia. They are growing that. But it's, as far as I remember, it's a cross between Gravenstein and Macintosh. So it was breeded in Lithuania Institute. Orchard Institute or whatever you call so.
Interesting.
So that's a Lithuanian. It's Auksis.
How do you spell that?
Auksis.
Auksis. Okay.
It's like gold something.
Lovely. Okay.
I would say this is quite popular.
Yeah.
It's like eating apple, and it doesn't keep very long, but it's you can keep till February. I think, also old varieties which are traditional for our region. So it's like Spartan, like Cortland. So everything what was popular and which you can find in old orchards.
Okay.
And Antonovkas, of course, because it's all the region full of Antonovkas. And
on the sides of the roads, are there apple trees growing, like kind of wild pippin?
Yeah, there are some. The place where I'm building cider, so it's like few kilometers was apple trees on the road. So they were planted in Soviet time intentionally, just to have a nice road. And that was saffron pepin or something like.
Oh my goodness! Okay.
Nice red blossom. So.
Make it look, the roads look pretty. Well, that's one thing that happened. I guess that's good. Why did you pick the area that you did to plant your orchard? Is there something about that soil there, or
no?
Or was available?
At that time, I was not thinking too much about soil, because you see, if apples are growing everywhere, who cares about soil?
Sure.
It was wrong.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
Of course. If you want to have a couple of trees, it's fine, but then it's not. So, no, but my wife, she has a country hotel. It was old river mill.
Okay.
We reconstructed, and there are some place for living and cooking and conference, and etc. So,
nice.
And we had a summer house there, and I was looking around.
Yeah.
So it was like 5 kilometers away. That with a little bit southern slope. It was a nice place.
Yeah.
But it's just sandy. It's very sandy.
Very sandy. Oh dear.
So but I put it there. First English cider apples, and then I put it like 2 hectares eating apple orchard with honeycrisp, with Auksis, honeycrisp, Rubinola, Rubin, Alva, so all these Eastern European varieties. And with friends, we made quite intensive orchard with 5,000 apple trees.
Big trees?
No,
standard?
Small,
Dwarf? Okay.
Yeah. But cider apples, which I bought from
the Welsh Mountain,
so they were on 825, so they're big.
Okay.
But of course, some of them didn't survive because of the climate and because of poor land.
Yeah.
But still, we have some, and we grafted from that new trees, and now we have altogether 6 hectares of only cider apple trees.
And they must be producing if you plant them in 2013.
Yeah, but then when we planted a very small orchard.
Oh, okay.
And that
All right.
was, but this is first batches which we are making like 1 or 2 tons of cider from cider apple. So everything goes from this first English.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but now we are catching up with. Then I bought another orchard and land, which was really good land, and now the trees are catching up. So I have some English varieties and a few French varieties.
Okay. Is that in that same area?
Yeah, it's like 15 kilometers away,
Not too far.
yeah, and yeah, that's
Also
the-
flat too?
Yeah, that's a flat.
That area is all
Yeah,
flat, as I
or
remind, which is
Lithuania
nice.
yeah. It's important that it should be well drainage.
Yeah, good
Maybe-
drainage, yes.
Yeah, because then you can get wet.
Yeah.
So, and that would be even worse than to have a sand.
It's kind of like the water's just
Yeah, yeah.
sitting there on the
so,
roots.
but I have no problem
No
with
problem.
that. So,
Okay. So you wanted to make basically the cider that you want to drink, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal. And then besides doing that, what's the goal for the business model? What was your approach there? Because you have that education piece in Lithuania to let everyone know what you're doing. And you know, when I asked for a bottle of water when I was there, they just gave me a bottle of vodka. So how do you how do you do that switch there?
You know, that's the most difficult question.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I'm still in the business, another business, in hygiene business. So,
Okay.
So this is
A side project.
Side project, which I'm getting more and more involved because I don't want to sit in the office anymore. I was sitting in the office too long. So
Yeah.
this year will be like 30 years for our
Okay.
company. I need some changes.
Good.
I started like 20 years ago and then planted orchard like 10 years ago.
That's smart.
And everything is going well, and then on the way, you know, I just went from one thing to another without
Yeah.
any big plans for the future, just to
But
get.
you did a nice plan there. I mean, you had the apples, and that's really important. And I saw more recently that you're building your production facility. What
Yeah.
stage is that at?
Yeah, we're almost finishing building. Then we need to go for all this veterinarian stuff and then the license thing, and then we will have all this paperwork, which actually at the moment in Lithuania there is no craft cider license.
Nothing. So is it a wine license? that you
Yeah,
have to get?
people are making like it's easy to get license for the wine. Apple wine, there are fruit wines with the sugars, but I think we will get. But as it all, one thing lead to another. I didn't have the final plan, and I took the course, Peter Mitchell course, UK, 7 years ago, and then took some distillation course, and then slowly moving a little bit. Then we send it to some competitions just to evaluate. And when we make ciders, not for sale, last year we made like 12 different ciders, just to know how people are reacting.
That's
And then-
enterprising.
yeah, because there's different people, and then they have different tastes. And one fun fact that when I was studying for sommelier, I found that according to American Cider Association, Lithuania market number 18 in the world in terms of size. We drink a lot of cider, but 99% of that is industrial cider. So people know in general that cider is apple drink, sweet one with different flavors. Sweet one. So we have a situation, we have a huge market, but the
do.
market is drinking another drink.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting to change that.
Yeah, it would be interesting, and wow, what a potential. I mean, I know it's a part of the culture, drinking. It's kind of like being in Belgium in that way. It's just really integral to the family gatherings and rituals, and at least my experience as an American Lithuanian. So that educational piece is not any different than any other country. So it seems like there's like huge potential there.
I think, I believe in that. Because I know there are some more people are starting investing into cideries. It's just a question of time.
Yeah.
Now when you take the Baltics, we are like empty spot. But empty spot in terms of legal, ciders with the license.
Right.
But there's a lot of people who are making cider, and they're slowly developing that. And I think that one day, when we have more cider producers and more licensed ciders, things will change. Because, the trend of consuming alcohol is the same. That young people are drinking a lot of alcopops or ready-to-use cocktails. But then Then I see very simple that last year we made sweet Kiev cider from Spartan. Very simple, straightforward, sweet thing for those who like the industrial sweet cider. They were like, oh, it's very nice.
Yeah.
But I said, okay, we can make that sweet thing which, without any sugar, without any additional flavors or something. So I think that for those people, we are preparing the answer. The same for those who like beer. So the hopped cider is the answer.
Oh, okay.
And
all right.
we also tested with a couple of kegs, with couple of kegs for the bigger parties. And I was observing that the beer tap opens only then when the cider keg is empty.
All right, music to our ears. All right, I'm going to break out in a Lithuanian song now. So, that's interesting. The Kiev cider, is it a natural Kiev?
Yeah.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, there's natural Kiev.
Fantastic, wow, all right.
Yeah, we did different ciders, but the cider apples so far we're using only for Kiev.
Okay.
But yeah, inspired by Claude Jolicoeur. We did also some Kiev for some different varieties like Spartan, like Cortland. This year we have Kiev Cortland. It looks promising. It will be interesting, but we will see because it's too early. I like that Kiev cider from cider apples because then you have that fruitness and full body and tannins, and so that this is like
complex, more complex. Yeah, and just looking at the color, you know, it has depth and richness to it, you know. How long are you conditioning your cider bottles?
So normally when we're talking about Kiev cider, so I think that first bottles we start to open middle of the summer. Okay. Something like that, about July. But normally, this I brought that is vintage 22. So
22? Ooh.
Yeah, we will see. We don't have many bottles left, but it's interesting.
Well, that's exciting. I'm very excited. Now, you're going to do hopped cider.
Yeah, with the cider apples, we don't have many of them. And of course, the orchard is young and growing, and we will have more. But with rest of ciders, we make like cider base from eating apples. Just making a basic cider. Last year we did the big exercise with the different flavors like chokeberry.
Is that adding actual strawberries to it, or
chokeberry? Oh, chokeberry.
Chog.
So I think that's aronia.
Aronia berry. Yeah.
So because we want to make a pink cider. No, that's
sure. Yeah,
you have to make pink cider, rosé. Yeah. So we made rosé with the chokeberry, aronia, and we made another rosé with the rowan berry. Okay. It gives a little bit tannin. And it was quite fun, and some people liked it.
What was that berry?
Rowan berry? Rowan berry. I think rowan berry. My English is not as good.
Your English is fantastic. Is this something that grows on the ground?
On the tree.
On a tree?
Yeah.
Oh, rowan.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Oh, that's a lot of picking there. Those are really tiny.
Yeah, but some people are using them, and some of them are growing cultural strains of that.
Okay.
So they are bigger, and we just bought from one farmer a few kilograms and just frozen them because it's different time.
Getting a lot of tannin.
Yeah, it's a lot of tannin.
Yeah,
and
really.
a lot of color.
Yeah, watch out. Yeah, it's like what people do here. They add crabapple to.
Yeah, we did that. We did that. Okay. We went through that as well. So
all right. Yeah.
At the very beginning.
You're doing exactly what I would expect you to do. So, are there any commercial cider makers in Lithuania at this point?
Commercial, we have just big players like Carlsberg.
Okay,
with the Somersby.
But they're not a Lithuanian cidery. No. So you will be the first Lithuanian if you get your paperwork in and all that, which sounds like it's a.
We have one which I think in the license they are. Yeah, there are a couple of them. They have a wine license, so under the wine license, they're producing also some cider.
And only producing for their local region at this point, or no?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Because again, in wine world, so when we have wine makers, so they are looking at cider, it's like, okay, it could be cider as well.
That's a mistake. That's a mistake for
course.
them because,
Of course.
yeah, well, we won't tell those winemakers. They could believe that, but
They're making 100 liters. We will make tons, and I am fighting all the time with that attitude. So I'm not most popular person in Lithuania between winemakers. Because I'm talking just about cider, and I think
You're not
that
used to it. Yeah.
cider is a cider. It's our drink, and you don't need to make sugary alcohol blended with some berries. But
that's right. Yeah.
the market is destroyed by big brew companies, and the people normally when you say cider, they say, "No, I don't drink cider."
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good person for us. If you say that you like this industrial cider, so we are a little bit in problem because this is far away. But if you say, no, I don't drink cider, so you are exactly what we are looking for.
Yeah, spoken like a smart businessman. Well, shall we try your Kyiv cider here?
Of course.
All right. Well, on svikatas.
I sveikata.
Svikatas, okay.
To your health.
Nice aromas coming off of there. I can smell immediately that you have those nice cider apples in there.
Yeah, but it's 22, so I think it's already getting too old.
Well,
But doesn't smell anything bad.
I'm excited to have something from Lithuania. It already tastes good just drinking it through my nose here, just breathing it in.
What do you think?
That is distinctly unique. Nice residual sweetness. You know, it's a 22. Yeah, it could have been drunk a year ago. I'm getting an interesting note there. It's a little cherry, a little umami. Yeah, a lot of complexity.
It's a lot.
I love it. I think you did a great job in 2022.
Thank you.
Kyiv cider. Yeah, best of luck. May you succeed on this endeavor, and we get to kind of follow up as it goes along. Well done. Nice carbonation in the cork and cage. A little bit of cloudiness, which you might expect from a Kyiv cider in general. It feels like it's a liquid food.
We don't care too much about cloudiness. I think that's not an issue with the cider. So.
It's like a 2022. What's interesting to me, sometimes you get like a caramelized, kind of a cooked apple, but I'm not really getting, it's more in the background, it's fresh apple away.
Yeah, it's still.
Yeah,
there's still,
yeah.
It's after 3 years. It's still
really
okay.
good. Boy, I can't wait to see where you bring this. What's the ABV on this?
Oh, it's 4.9.
4.9.
Almost 5.
That's the beauty of a Kyiv cider. One person can drink that whole bottle and not be intoxicated.
Yeah,
it's a good everyday cider in that way. But here in the U.S., we would look at this as like a special cider because we don't really get to have ciders like that. We have some Kyiv ciders, but they're very far and few between in this country. And yeah, I really love the finish on this.
I like this long aftertaste.
Yeah.
Which I always wanted to have from my ciders, that it's not just you are drinking and forget, but this it takes you to think about a little bit longer.
Yeah, good astringency. I'm going to just explain this for folks who don't see what I'm looking at right now. So this is a 750 ml cork and cage, and it has this really nice font on it. On the top it says 2022.
Derlus, that is harvest.
The harvest, okay. And then it says naturalus
Sidriné. That's natural cider.
Natural cider.
I don't know if we should write that, because the thing natural or not is a big discussion. So
okay.
Yeah, but this is
this is a label in the works.
Yeah,
in the works.
This is our prepared label, which is still barcode, not for sale. But then we will remove, and then we will have everything ready.
But how pretty. I mean, it's really pretty font that you're doing here. And then on the back side, you have kind of a couple of things here. It says...
Yeah, we're trying to explain what we are doing. So
you have a cider press, do you have a little orchard?
Yeah, that we are growing, we are pressing, we are fermenting and bottling. Everything we do, Patys means ourselves.
I see.
And so then and then there is no sugar. And
yeah, it's 2 sugar cubes with a line through it, which means no sugar. I love that.
Natural carbonation and no any sweetness. And then we are putting the scale. It's from sweet to dry. So we call it half dry, semi-dry.
And how do you pronounce that?
Pusiau sausas.
Pusiau sausas to be
Sausas means dry.
dry. Okay, so like a semi-dry.
Yeah, semi-dry.
Yeah, right on. Are most of your ciders going to be in a 750 ml format, or what would it?
Yeah, at the moment we're thinking about this. Yeah, keep that format. We did flavored cider, so then we carbonated them. We just put it this crown cap.
Okay. The business plan at this point is to get the production facility set up. You're going to be using stainless steel tanks.
Yeah, with stainless steel tanks, and what we already have some tanks and
Okay.
Some filtration. At the moment, manual packaging. We will see how far we will go and how we will grow packaging. The most expensive part of the
Right.
equipment.
Right.
And at the moment, we don't know yet about our volume, so we will see on the way.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
but anyway, it's different from the developed markets like UK when you can outsource. So we don't have that option to outsource. So everyone has to
Make do.
their own,
Yeah.
and that costs you. But we will see.
It's a beginning point. And in terms of the facility itself, how large is that? Like the building that you're...
It's we made a project of 2 buildings, and we have permission for the 2 buildings. One building is for production. It's about 400 square meters. There is a premise for visitors, tasting room, small tasting room, and if we need bigger, so we have everything prepared just to add another building, which will be 100 square meters just for tasting room.
Very good.
And the tasting room, which will be now, we will put the distillation there.
Okay.
So that's a plan.
Any wooden barrels?
Wooden barrels we just used for ice cider. Last year we made a single variety ice cider from Honeycrisp.
Oh.
We made a juice and then it was cold outside. We
Yeah.
had cold winter, so we just put it one
Yeah.
IBC container. It get frozen. We kept that in the virgin barrel, so we use that for ice cider. But normal ciders we don't use the barrel.
And what is your ABV on your ice cider?
That's 9.5. Cider, from my point of view, is most important is balanced. So that acidity and sweetness should be balanced. And and we wanted to be natural balanced. We didn't want to go with a high ABV and then a little bit too acidic, adding sugar. No, it's like the same cider like this one.
Yeah.
It's nothing added there.
Yeah.
So I am strong believer that apple has everything what you need. And if it is 9.5 ice cider, it's 9.5.
Perfect.
We don't need to have more alcohol made from sugar. So, no. The same with the regular ciders.
Yeah.
When we have dry cider, so we have about 6.5. With the keep, this one was 4.9, and it's okay. So we never do with sugars. We never play.
Okay. What about culture yeast? What are you doing with that?
For keep cider, obviously, you don't use any yeast. But for rest, we're using white wine yeast, nothing special.
So steel tanks, wooden barrels, you got a little barrel program, a tasting room. It sounds like you're going to be trying your hand at a couple different ciders to offer. But my sense is that your keep cider is going to be like your flagship cider.
Yeah, of course. This is what we are proud of.
Yeah.
Okay, to be honest, this is the most work to do. Is with that. With that, it's much more difficult to make good keep cider than to make very good ordinary, normal bottle fermented or whatever else cider. So with the keep, you have a lot of things to do. Yeah. Sometimes to miss. 1 year we have good dry cider, but it was the bad keep.
Well,
it's happening.
That happens. Yeah.
It happens. And
yeah, for sure.
so this year do more tasting, more analysis. We bought microscope with some more equipment. We started to measure yeast.
Assimilable nitrogen. Yeah.
Yeah, and we see that from different orchards we already have different results, and it will be interesting to see because this is from very poor land. So it's very low figures, and from other orchards it's higher figures. So
interesting.
That's a big world,
It is. It's
so
part of the excitement.
we are diving. This is from one thing you want to. Let's do something else,
Yeah.
And then you go to another, and you go diving deeper, deeper, and deeper. And I like that.
Yeah.
Just diving deeper,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, no, it makes sense that, especially at the stage that you're at. And it's really exciting to hear that Kyiv is going to be like your flagship because, boy, talk about making a niche market for yourself. I'm sure if any other cider makers are in the country, there's a bit of catching up to be able to get those apples. I mean, you could ship them to Lithuania, but that's
of course, you can buy them in UK quite cheap.
Yeah.
But then transport, and you can transport apple juice, but I was talking with a couple of guys who they were thinking about transporting juice or cider apples from UK, but my opinion is you can transport the cider. So buy cider in UK, refill it. But there's a lot of ways to make money, but we want to make it local. It means from our side you can see most of the apples. Just stand in the parking and see apples around. We are not buying any other apples, and we're not creating stories about that. This is local. We have apples which we are growing ourselves. I know exactly which apple varieties are and where they came from that orchard or from that orchard. And every year is different because there's some of them, like we have Herefordshire Red Streak, which is a nice apple, but every second year. Also, some others I like very much, Stoke Red, which we planted more of that, and Harry Master's Jersey, Lincoln Mills.
Wow, yeah, all these UK styles, yeah.
And from France we have Kermiren and Marie Menard. So
fantastic apples.
Yeah, we will see because they're getting this year in our vintage 2024. It will be small part of French apples already. We had like 50 kilograms or something.
My goodness, yeah.
So it's a lot of things. Every season is different, and every cider is different.
Yes, that's the beauty of it. Now you mentioned distillation, and of course you know what Calvados is.
Yeah.
Apple brandy we'd call it here, but Calvados is a really unique product from France. What are you thinking about with that?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that drink. So I think that when we do something for own consumption.
Yes, right.
So
you did quote marks.
We do that double distillation. We do the Calvados Paydor style. So it's double distillation with the copper alembic, double distillation, and then we pack into the barrels.
Are you using the columns still, kind of, at all? No.
No.
Okay, just alembic.
Well,
very basic.
Yeah, with column you can do it faster, cheaper.
Yes, right.
But we are looking for the drinks from the upper shelf, so.
All right, okay.
So, different from Calvados, so we are using sherry casks. So that's making, faster the dry fruits and so smoother drink, etc.
Nice. So you already have some casks.
I think next year it will be VCOP.
Oh, whoa, très bien. I actually had some Calvados with Etienne Dupont. He has some in the sherry cask too. He's done that.
Ah, they do in sherry cask.
Yeah, we're seeing that quite a bit in France, that they are doing port, delicious from Chateaubriand. They condition it in a port barrel.
Okay.
Très bien. Yeah, very, very good.
They're horrible expensive casks. So.
Well, there's a price for the good life. That's the way it goes.
Oh, yeah.
So, any kind of 5-year plan for you or what? No, you're just kind of going with it as it goes.
In 5 years, we will have more cider, that's for sure. There's no specific plans. As I told, we are growing step by step, and we don't know. We are going that way.
Yeah.
And we don't know where this path will turn, which is exciting. Let's say our goal, let's have 10% of local market. So then it's not fun anymore. So then you have to stick to your plan. And in our case, we're following apples. People, a lot of ask me, we are making cider for many years, and why you don't have cider, etc. Well, I don't need cider to make 2 tons. No. But everything is coming, so we're quite okay in timing.
With the pace, Well, that's great. What I love the most about your story is that you planted the apples years ago.
Yeah.
Before you actually needed them for this level. And for anybody listening out there in Ciderville, that is really, really key. It's all about the resources to make the product. And that gives you some breathing room now for that next stage. Because this next stage, what I'm hearing is doing the paperwork, getting the government in Lithuania to buy into something that they're not used to dealing with. So that's education there. And then now education with the public. So you have to take off your cider making cap and put on your business cap. But you could do that in a way where you're not worried about your resources. And that is really perfect.
But it's no problem in UK. You can buy cider apples for 10 pence per kilo or 100 pounds per ton.
Right.
But in Lithuania you cannot. So if you want to do things like we are doing, which is it's not the best way from business point of view, so you have to start with the raw material because it's not available. Or you can go like normal way. There's a lot of eating apples. You can do nice ciders with the eating apples.
Absolutely.
Bottle conditioned, champagne method, surlet keeper, and then a lot of things. So you can make nice flavors. But you're not able to do that what we are doing. So.
No, you're not.
So.
And you know, one of the things I remember being in Lithuania, and my brother closed the door really hard on my cousin's car, and he's like, "What are you doing? Like, close it softly because it's hard for us to get parts, right?"
Oh, yeah.
For an American who's used to like going 2 blocks away to the parts store, everything's disposable at a level. But in a country where everything is so sacred, the goods, and I know it's changed quite a bit since then, but that mindset gets embedded in the culture. And that, I think, provides a certain kind of opportunity for greatness versus coming from a very disposable country mindset. You really notice things at a different level, quality and assurance and setting up those steps. I think you're on the right track.
We used to do everything ourselves. But that's why I'm very thankful to the guys from Ciderwall like Tom Oliver or Claude Jolik or Peter Mitchell. You know, we get like gold. You know, you get knowledge from the people who know their craft. So this is, you know, when you do something from scratch, from zero. So it's most important. It's not the money. Most important is knowledge and the people who inside the universe who are sharing that knowledge. So I'm really very, very thankful to those guys. And they're inspiring a lot. Best regards to them.
Well, you have inspired me, and I'm so thankful for having the opportunity to have you on Cider Chat for this episode. And we'll be watching and following along and hopefully meeting again in the not too distant future and seeing where Sodo Sidriné is moving to.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and it's a great honor, you know, to speak in your podcast. So I'm a listener, and then now I'm speaker. So, wow! Thank you.
Thank you. Find the show notes for this here episode 458 with Donatus at ciderchat.com. You also find links to Bent Ladder Cider and Wine and Locust Grove Brewing, along with so much more, such as Cider Chat Swag Store, cider supplies, cider books to definitely have in your library, and a podcast archive that is slowly gaining up to 500 episodes. We got you covered here at Cider Chat. It's all there, just waiting for you. Aww. And if you gain some value from this podcast, do hit the donate button at ciderchat.com or become a patron today. Search for Cider Chat and Patreon. That's spelled Patreon. And with that, I leave you here. This is Real Wind Color signing off for now. Looking forward to seeing you in Ciderville.
We like cider, we like palms, we love orchards and having fun. There is a reason why we do it like this. Oh yes there is. There is a reason why we do it like this. Oh yes there is. There is a reason why we drink it like this. Oh yes there is a reason. We like walking through the orchards, dancing in the streets, smelling all the blossoms, kicking up our feet. We like cider. We like palms. We like orchards. Having some fun. There is a reason. There is a reason why we do it like this.
Oh, yes, there is.
There is a reason why we do it like this.
Oh, yes, there is.
There is a reason why we drink it like this.
Oh, yes, there is.
There is a reason. We like walking through the orchards, dancing in the streets, smelling all the blossoms, kicking up our feet.
Oh, yeah.
We like cider.
Oh, yes, we do.
We like palms.
Oh, yes, we do.
We love orchards, having some fun. There is a reason. There is a reason why we do it like this.
Ba-da-da-dum.
There is a reason why we do it like this.
Ba-da-da-dum.
There is a reason why we drink it like this.
Ba-da-da-dum.
Ba-da-da-dum. We like walking down the orchards, dancing in the streets, smelling all the blossoms, kicking up our feet.
Oh, yeah.
We like cider.
Ba-da-da-dum.
We like palms.
Oh, yes, we do.
We like orchards, having some fun.
Yeehaw!